Picture this, if you will. You're out in the absolute middle of a vast, pitch black and foggy ocean. The silence is heavy, almost deafening. Then, slowly cutting through the mist, this massive, beautiful 1800s wooden sailing ship just emerges. It's drifting completely aimlessly. The sails are catching the wind, billowing out perfectly, and honestly, from the outside, its condition looks absolutely flawless. But then, you board this vessel, and your blood just runs cold. Because instead of the bustling sounds of a working crew, you're hit with a deathly, heavy silence. You check the deck, you search the cabins, and you realize something practically impossible. There is not a single human being on board. I know, right? It sounds exactly like the opening scene of some Hollywood horror movie. But I promise you, this is no fiction. This is a true historical reality. In fact, it's widely considered to be the world's greatest maritime history. We're talking about a massive vessel where an entire crew simply vanished into thin air, leaving literally zero trace behind. So today, we are going to examine this dark mystery. We're going to lay out the facts, look at the eerie evidence left behind, and really try to unpack the secret of the ghost ship known as the Mary Celeste. Chapter 1: The Final Journey. Okay, let's dive into this by flashing back to the very beginning, to a perfectly normal day before everything went wrong. What's absolutely fascinating here is the incredibly tight timeline of it all. We are looking at a window of less than a single month. So on November 7th, 1872, the Mary Celeste leaves the busy harbor of New York, setting sail for Italy. And the early days of this voyage, completely normal. The weather was fine, the crew was settling in, and everything was just going exactly to plan. But then, just 27 days later, on December 4th, 1872, it's discovered drifting silently by another ship called the Dei Grazia. It just highlights how shockingly fast things went completely sideways. And it's so absolutely crucial that we remember the human element of this tragedy. This wasn't just an empty piece of wood out on the water. It was carrying 10 living, breathing souls. At the helm, you had Captain Benjamin Briggs. Now, he was a highly respected, deeply experienced sailor. He knew the sea like the back of his hand. And he wasn't alone out there. Traveling with him was his wife, his young daughter, and 7 really capable crew members. 10 people. A family and a tight-knit crew, just setting out on a journey that nobody knew would be their absolute last. Now, aside from the people, we have to talk about what was in the belly of the ship. Deep in the hold, the Mary Celeste was carrying exactly 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol. Now, I want you to hold on to that number and that specific cargo, because this isn't just some boring manifest detail you can brush past. This is a massive forensic clue. As we peel back the layers of this whole mystery, those 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol are going to become very, very important. Chapter 2: Inside the Ghost Ship. Let's move to and see how this builds when we jump back to that fateful day on December 4th. This is the moment the crew of the Dei Grazia spots the wandering Mary Celeste and actually sends a boarding party over to figure out what on earth is wrong. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the bizarre paradox that the boarding party walked into. The ship was totally unharmed. There was zero structural damage. Down below, they found enough food and fresh drinking water to last the crew 6 entire months. The crew's valuables, their money, their clothes, all of it was left totally untouched. But what was missing? All 10 people. And very significantly, 1 small lifeboat. So the ship hadn't been robbed, right? And it definitely wasn't sinking. The sheer state of the ship led the investigators to one chilling conclusion. They basically said, it looked as if everyone fled in sudden terror. I mean, put yourself in the shoes of those investigators for a second. Captain Briggs was a seriously experienced sailor. He knew the absolute golden rule of the sea. You never, ever abandon a perfectly seaworthy ship unless it is an absolute life or death necessity. So, what terrifying, unseen force could possibly compel a seasoned captain to grab his wife and young daughter, abandon an unsinkable ship stocked with 6 months of supplies, and just flee into the open ocean in a tiny, vulnerable lifeboat? Chapter 3: The Bizarre Theories. Seriously, how do 10 people just vanish? Well, over the centuries, people have been desperate for answers, and they've proposed countless ideas. Let's pick up the pace a bit and look at the 3 most prominent ones. So, the first theory that investigators naturally gravitated towards was mutiny. Did the 7 crew members violently rebel, murder Captain Briggs and his family, and then make a break for it in the lifeboat? I mean, it's your classic maritime trope, but we can instantly challenge this. If this was some malicious mutiny, why on earth would the escaping crew leave all their money, their valuables, and this highly lucrative cargo completely untouched? Criminals fleeing a scene generally don't leave the treasure behind. The logic just completely falls apart. And then, of course, you get into the wilder, much more sensational theories. Remember, the 1800s were a time of deep, dark superstitions among sailors. A lot of people genuinely believed that a giant mythical creature of the deep, like a massive kraken or some crazy sea serpent, rose up from the abyss, plucked the crew right off the deck, and just left the ship drifting. Now, while that definitely paints a terrifying picture, the complete lack of any physical damage to the ship pretty much immediately ruled out a colossal beast attack.
So, the crucial point is, we have to look for a real scientific explanation, something actually grounded in the specific details of the ship's cargo. Remember those 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol we talked about earlier? Well, this brings us to the most logical and, honestly, the most tragic theory of them all, the alcohol fumes theory. It suggests that a silent, invisible threat basically created this terrifying illusion of an imminent, massive explosion.
Let's trace this tragic step-by-step sequence. First, because of the natural rolling of the ship, highly flammable gas begins leaking from some of those 1,700 alcohol barrels. Second, Captain Briggs smells these intense fumes, and knowing the sheer explosive power sitting right below his feet, he genuinely believes the entire ship is a ticking time bomb about to blow sky high. Third, acting purely on survival instinct, he orders a temporary, panicked evacuation. He ties the small lifeboat to the Mary Celeste, gets his family and crew on it, and plans to just trail behind the ship at a safe distance until the fumes clear out. But then, the cruelest irony strikes. Step 4. The rope snaps. A sudden violent sea storm rolls in. That tiny lifeboat, now completely detached, is just swallowed by the massive waves. Meanwhile, the very ship they thought was going to explode safely weathers the storm, just sailing on entirely empty. The eternal mystery. And so, the Mary Celeste survived, while her crew did not. Whether it was the sheer terror of an invisible gas leak, or maybe some other unseen force, the dark ocean simply swallowed those 10 souls forever, cementing its legacy as history's most haunting ghost ship.
Which brings us to the end of our journey today, leaving us with one final haunting question. What unseen force do you think swallowed Captain Briggs and his family? Was it just a tragic miscalculation over leaking fumes? Or does the ocean hold a much darker secret that we still haven't uncovered? I really want to hear your thoughts on this, so be sure to comment your theories down below. And hey, if this dark journey through history sparked your curiosity, make sure you subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the unknown. Until next time, keep questioning what lies beneath the surface.